Hi, I'm Chris Vavra. I'm the Web Content Manager for CFE Media and Technology. I'm here live at Modex in Atlanta to discuss a couple of topics today that are central to the audience here at Modex. Mobile robots in warehousing have had an enormous impact in the last several years, and that is going to continue in the next several years. But to learn more about how the people here at Modex will be affected by that, I have two thought leaders from Interact Analysis, a CFE Media and Technology content partner, to discuss what's happening in the industry. I have asked Sharma and Rueben Scriven. Thank you for joining me, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, nice to speak to you as always.
Yeah, likewise. So, you want to just give a quick background on your expertise in these topics?
Sure, yeah. So I'm the managing director at Interact Analysis. I've been in tech research for about 20 years and covering mobile robots and supply chain automation for about 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So we've spent a great deal of time talking to all the leading vendors and customers, and always excited by what's happening and next in the sector.
Yeah.
Yeah, my name is Rueben Scriven, the research manager at Interact Analysis for our warehouse research group. So that covers everything from warehouse automation to more of the kind of demand and supply side of warehousing. So a slightly kind of more macro view of warehousing in general.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and both of you have contributed to control engineering and plant engineering, part of the CFE Media and Technology brand. So again, thank you for joining me here. So Ash, I'll start with you. We've been hearing a lot the last year or so. Manufacturing is slowing down. There's been major supply chain issues, but when it comes to mobile robots, they've been an outlier in that respect in terms of their growth. Why is that?
Partly because it's a novel technology, so it's just being adopted into manufacturing production lines. So it's less immune to economic cycles because it's nascent in its nature.
Mm-hmm.
The other key thing is that it's much lower cost than other technologies to deploy.
Yeah.
It's scalable, so you can add it in stages at a much lower capex. And then you've got things like in automotive, which is one of the biggest users of mobile robots. They'll go through transformations in their production. So the shift to electric vehicles means they're setting up new facilities and new ways of manufacturing, and they've already decided to go down the mobile robot route, and it's not going to stop.
Yeah, and being mobile, they have more utilities than say other robots or other kinds of technology would be, because that's part of their appeal is they can go anywhere. And when you look at Modex, which is material handling, supply chain, logistics, mobile robots seem to be being used in a lot of different ways. Are there any applications that you've seen in the last couple of years that have kind of surprised you where mobile robots are being utilized?
Yeah, that's a great point. So that's really the inherent benefit of them, is that they're so flexible and they can be moved and adapted to fit any workflow. And if you think in a warehouse or a production facility, there's so many different points where labor is used. So it could be trailer unloading or piece picking or sortation. So there's just a huge range of applications they can be used in. So I wouldn't say there's anything that's really surprised me, I would say, but it's more that there's always something new coming out. So we're seeing all the new products this week.
Yeah.
And there's new applications that are being thought of that just make sense.
Yeah, it's like, if you can think of it, it will happen almost.
Right.
And with that, that kind of imagination, you're starting to realize, like, wow, this, really is kind of like a new, exciting technology in some respects. And Rueben, with the warehousing industry, it's certainly gone through a lot of transformation the last couple of years, largely thanks to COVID, I suppose. Well, thanks is probably, a little cruel, but it did necessitate some major changes, didn't it, in the way warehousing operations are done?
It did. So during the pandemic, we saw a big increase in the construction of warehousing. This was driven primarily, as you say, by COVID and the demand for e-commerce. In general, online goods require more space because you're storing individual items, not palletized goods. So more square footage requirement as you kind of increase the share of online goods. Now, what happened is after the pandemic, we saw a slowdown in online sales coupled with high inflation resulting in high interest rates.
Yeah.
This led to a lot of capital outflows away from warehousing, and we're kind of in big contractionary period right now where warehousing construction is really declining.
Mm-hmm.
We're seeing that end customers are saying, we're not going to build a new warehouse and automate that, but instead,
Right.
how can we increase the efficiency of our existing facilities?
Mm-hmm.
And what that really is driving towards is more kind of point solutions where you're not necessarily ripping out the entire operation, but
Right.
you're automating a particular workflow that already exists, be
Mm-hmm.
that packing, picking,
Yeah.
replenishment, trailer unloading.
Yeah.
And this again lends itself to mobile automation, which has that flexibility where you can just drag and drop a particular AMR into a particular workflow without necessarily reorganizing the structure of the entire warehouse.
Which has kind of led to this, I don't know exactly how to say, but it's like everything, you can basically, to whatever need you have on Monday, you can change it around to meet your needs on Friday,
Exactly, and I think this has become actually a central point of warehousing more broadly, is this need for flexibility. I think what happened during the pandemic was a big shift in the way things were distributed, more eaches being picked, and then post-pandemic, a shift back towards cases and pallets.
Right.
So what this has kind of signaled is that you need automation that can be flexible and can change as consumer preferences change.
Yeah.
And this is having quite I would say, a fairly negative impact on some of the more fixed technologies and benefit some of the mobile automation technologies. But it should be sort of stated that workflows and environments where throughput really is the main constraints are parcel sorting facilities. You can't get away with a lower throughput system. That's really where fixed automation will remain a sort of prevalent technology.
A lot of this was already kind of being discussed before COVID, but COVID's like, no, it's like, instead of like being 2025, they were saying, oh, we're going to do it then. Like, no, you're doing it now.
Yeah, I think for sure. And what we're seeing now, especially with consumers demanding goods that are close, shorter delivery windows. This is leading the fulfillment process to take place closer to the customer, where you're having to rely on more kind of brownfield sites. And this again, you can't. What happens in a greenfield site is you often build the warehouse around the automation. You can't do that in a brownfield site because you have the physical constraints you've got to work around, which again kind of leads to the requirement of more flexibility to kind of deal with those physical constraints that you have.
And within that flexibility, customer and consumer demand has become more sophisticated. It's more, it's more of a one-off rather than, like everything coming down the same assembly line.
Exactly. It's a one-off, but also there's a much higher degree of variability. You could have a TikTok trend and a particular product goes through the roof. You could have, very highly customized products coming through. So what's happening is that the logistical operations are becoming far more diverse and complex.
Yeah. A TikTok trend influencing warehousing. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. So Ash, we talk about mobile robots looking like having a very bright future. Is that expected to continue, and in what way is warehousing going to help with that?
I mean, when you look at the underlying macro trends, they're huge. So a lack of labor, an aging workforce, people not wanting to work in warehouses or work in factories. You've got e-commerce increasing and a trend towards localization of manufacturing or nearshoring. So that is not going away anytime soon.
No.
So those big mega trends are there, getting stronger every day. So it's hard to see that the demand for automation, specifically mobile, would weaken in the next 5 to 10 years. So certainly accelerate over time.
I mean, one thing that we are seeing though is that in many cases the mobile automation is opening up new niches that would have remained unautomated had mobile automation not come. So we are seeing displacement to a certain extent, but really we're not necessarily seeing this kind of 100% displacement of fixed automation with mobile automation.
No.
But rather it's kind of opening up new niches, which, as I mentioned, would remain unautomated. So SMEs, for example, historically they wouldn't have had the capital resources to invest in large fixed capital projects. Similarly with 3PLs, where their kind of operational characteristics don't really work well with large capital expenditures. So it's these new markets which, again, are really kind of driving that growth that we're seeing.
Yeah. As I said, they have a lower cost of entry. So, and, with anything, you can find a way to automate and improve your efficiency, but it's like, you got to kind of like, I guess, take like a holistic and a very very practical what point of view when it comes to that, especially if you have a fixed budget. You got to be really creative in how you use this.
Right.
So, warehousing has changed a lot thanks to automation. What do you see as like the next 5 to 10 years? What will the warehouse of the future look like? And also, what role will people be playing in this? Because, people don't necessarily want to work in warehouses, but the ones that are, what's their role going to be?
I think humans will remain essential in warehouses. I know that we saw a trend in the sort of late 2010s towards lights out facilities, but I think what people have realized is that the flexibility that humans provide is essential for the operations of warehousing. Um, where we see kind of automation going towards is more flexible systems that can be reconfigured. And in general, we're seeing kind of a shift more towards facilities being closer to those large urban areas. So in specifically around kind of the fulfillment operations, where you're driving more kind of e-commerce volume. So in general, facilities are probably going to get smaller. Humans will definitely stay central to that. And I think we're going to see a more sophisticated collaboration of automation and humans.
Centralized and localized, do you think, with the warehousing? Like you talk about those fulfillment centers, like, there to meet the immediate needs of the people within their area?
It's a function of how quickly consumers want products.
Yeah.
So the answer to that will be dependent on how quick the kind of expected delivery time is. If we continue this trend towards wanting things quicker and quicker and quicker, then facilities will have to be located closer and closer and closer to the customer. Our expectation is that the bulk of online orders will probably kind of plateau at around next day. And this kind of really is more geared towards maybe sort of 100, 200,000 square foot facilities, which have maybe a sort of a 500-mile radius.
Yeah. Anything add on that, Ash?
I mean, yeah, humans, going back to the original point, humans are always going to be there in warehouses and in facilities. But if you look at something like, I don't know, the automotive sector, you go into a manufacturing plant now, there's no humans there really, it's all robotics. Anything that can be replaced will be replaced, but it's only where it makes sense that that's going to happen. High value manufacturing, high value logistics, sure, you're going to automate it. But that's not going to be the case in everywhere where it's still going to make sense to use humans until that ROI equation changes.
Right. Well, it'll be interesting, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of interesting insights here at Modex the next couple of days. So, well, thanks, Ash and Rueben. Thank you for taking the time to share your insights on the mobile robots and warehousing industry. So thank you very much once again.
No problem at all.
Thank you.
And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give a like or subscribe to our YouTube channel, PlanEng Mag. And if you're reading this online, don't forget to check out our Modex show report, which will highlight this video as well as other insights throughout the show. So I'm Chris Vavra, Web Content Manager for CFE Media and Technology. Thank you for watching.